Russia and Ukraine engaging in another night of attacks, and the U.S. and its NATO allies are reacting. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington with a closer look at what's happening on the ground coming up.
Plus, firefighters battle an early morning blaze near downtown Joplin. Also,
the Ice Bowl is back in Pittsburgh to kick off the official disc golf season. I'm Bronte Sorosky with why this game is so much more than that to people in the community.
And we're heading to the truck rodeo at Monarch Cement in Humboldt.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The U.S. and its NATO allies are rallying to the side of Ukraine in their war with Russia today. The White House announced its support of cutting off Russian banks from the SWIFT messaging bank system, joining several other countries in this restrictive economic measure. Russian military forces have been bombarding the country with missiles and airstrikes as Ukrainians fend off their attacks. Fox's Caroline Shively has more details now from Washington.
The mayor of Kyiv ordering another strict curfew tonight, lasting until Monday morning, declaring that any civilians seen on the street will be considered part of the enemy's sabotage group. Russian military forces engaging in another intense night of fighting with Ukraine. Air raid sirens have been sounding off throughout the capital of Kyiv. Many citizens have taken up arms and plan to stay until the very end.
We Ukrainians have a lot of surprises, both for you, the world, and for Putin and his forces.
Ukrainians have put up a much stronger resistance than most observers originally thought. Cameras captured one man on top of a moving Russian tank. He then rolls off and kneels in front of it before he is ultimately pulled away.
The Russians have found this to be far harder than they expected. They've taken far more casualties than they expected. They've lost more equipment, tanks, helicopters, fighter aircraft.
The U.S. and its NATO allies have been sending Ukraine additional military aid. The Biden administration also agreed to block some Russian banks from the SWIFT messaging system. A vote is still required before it takes effect.
We are seeing the demands of the Ukrainians being met, and I'm glad that it's happening now. I only wish it had happened earlier.
New sanctions also target Russia's central bank, going after $600 billion the Kremlin uses to support its currency. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Russian troops are reportedly on the move heading further into eastern Ukraine. Russian state TV released footage today showing what it says are armed forces and military vehicles crossing the Seversky Donets River as they closed in on the Luhansk region. There aren't any visible national insignia or flags on the military vehicles in the video, but most of them are marked with the letter Z. The code is painted on trucks and armor being used as part of the Russian invasion force. Spain is stockpiling humanitarian aid for civilians in Ukraine who have had their lives upended since Russian military forces invaded their country. Spanish Foreign Minister Jose Manuel Alvarez said his country is ready to send 20 tons of humanitarian aid to Ukraine. During a visit to a military base east of Madrid, Alvarez checked the boxes carrying medical equipment and medicines. The foreign minister did not provide details on when the convoy would leave for Ukraine. Liquor stores in North America are showing their support for Ukraine by boycotting Russian vodka. Bars, pubs, and liquor store owners are saying niet, or no, to Russian vodka to strike back at Russia in an act of solidarity with Ukraine. In Bend, Oregon, Pine Tavern restaurant owner Bill McCormick poured all of his Russian vodka down the drain. In Knoxville, Bob Gilbertson of Bob's Liquor Store sold what he had at cost and won't sell again soon, and smashed a bottle of it. And officials in Ontario, Canada ordered Russian vodka be removed from stores. Turning to 4-state weather, cold temperatures are about to be out of here. Nick Kelly joins us.
I'll tell you what, and we deserve it, Chris. After the ice that we picked up earlier this week, during the middle of the week for that matter, sunshine today, temperatures back in the 40s, at least 43 in Joplin. That is continuing the big melt as we continue on throughout the rest of this weekend. Nothing, it is nice to see absolutely nothing on the radar network right now. And we haven't had much to speak of in the way of cloud cover either. We just had one weak wave pass just to the south of the region, but it was strong enough for some higher elevation rain mixing with freezing rain, sleet, and snow, certainly across parts of central Arkansas. But here, that's a whole lot of nothing. and we'll take it. But that whole lot of nothing is leading to a big drop in temperatures. Most of us around 30 at the top of the 9 o'clock hour. Fortunately, I only see us dropping back, most of us around 21. But a light breeze throughout the day, building warmer air in the upper levels for sure. With mostly sunny skies, we're going back near 50 tomorrow, Chris, and we'll see how high these numbers will go for the week ahead here in a bit.
All right, Nick, thank you. Joplin fire crews responded to a house fire early this morning in the Murfreesburg area. Just before 5, crews were alerted to a fire at this home at 910 West 5th Street near 5th and Connor. Firefighters reported heavy smoke and flames and called in a second alarm. Everyone was out of the home safely. The cause of the fire is under investigation. February is Black History Month, but the George Washington Carver National Monument celebrates Black history year-round. Carver grew up during a time of segregation and was born during the Civil War. Despite this, he never treated anyone differently. So today, the National Monument hosted an interracial understanding workshop for attendees to reflect on where the country has been and where we are now.
They're going to be learning a little bit more about race relations within the United States during George Washington Carver's time and see how he would have had an understanding of race relations in his job, in his field, and how he was able to use the idea of coming together through soil conservation and discussing race.
National Monument hopes attendees see that these lessons are applicable in everyday life. The cold weather created perfect conditions for a game aimed at helping out a local charity. And for any disc golf players, you'll know what we're talking about. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more on what the Ice Bowl means to disc golf players all over and how they're helping those in the Pittsburgh community.
The Monarch Cement Center is hosting its annual Truck Rodeo. This event hosts 14 contestants that have traveled from as far as western Kansas and Kansas City. The top 2 finishers from today go into a national competition featuring some of the world's best drivers in the profession. Justin Tucker, one of the judges, says that going on to nationals is no small feat and can be very beneficial for those that accomplish that.
For example, if one of these guys goes to national and places high, wins, gets top 3, 4, whatever, it doesn't take long for their whole market area to know that they've got one of the best drivers in the world.
The contestants go through a series of 7 tests and obstacles showcasing their skills. Those participating were hand-picked by management to compete, giving the drivers an added boost of confidence.
It felt good knowing that my management has, a high value and high trust in my skills.
Nationals will take place this fall in October, giving the drivers more time to hone their skills. In Humboldt, Kansas, at the Monarch Cement Center, I'm Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Now, of course, that wasn't the Ice Bowl. We do apologize. Sometimes things get a little hectic, but that was the Cement Truck Rodeo at the Monarch Cement Company in Humboldt. An excellent event that takes place each year, and those drivers have an excellent opportunity ahead of them. And as Jalen mentioned, nationals are something you can do, which is, did you know you could do that with a cement truck? If you didn't, now you do. We'll have the story from Bronte Sorotsky on the Ice Bowl a little later in our newscast. But for right now, we're going to take this time to honor one of our many 4-state heroes. Private First Class Don Fullerton served in the Army during Korea, his hometown, Iola. We're proud to recognize Private First Class Don Fullerton, tonight's 4-state hero. And of course, if you want to learn more about other heroes or nominate one of your own at any time, just head over to our website at KOAMNewsNow.com. Still ahead, baby teethers sold at Target are being recalled due to a choking hazard.
We deserve quite a lengthy break with nothing but quiet weather, sunny skies, and warmer temperatures to get rid of the memories of the midweek system that brought us plenty of ice and snow for some of you for sure. It is still nice, though, that even on a Saturday, even though the system clearly moved its way out back on Thursday, there's absolutely nothing on the radar network right now. And there really has not been anything to track all day. Again, we'll certainly take it. Even with some cloud cover at times, it was, like Doug said the other night, mainly mid and upper level clouds, but we just kept things nice and quiet around here. Took advantage of the sunshine and temperatures warmer than yesterday's upper 20s for sure to continue the big melt all across the area. We had a drop back briefly, though, into the upper teens this morning before we went back into the lower 40s at Joplin Regional this afternoon. Fortunately, I have us quiet for much of the coming week. Something, again, that we really deserve after what seemed like an endless parade of storm systems over the past few weeks. But chilly temperatures will start the week out, but they'll quickly be replaced with more milder air, certainly as we go toward the middle and the second half of the coming week. Right now, though, looking good outside from 7th and Range Line. Temperatures obviously back below freezing now, so any melting is coming to a temporary halt, but still it's not too terrible. 31 in Joplin with a calm breeze, so no wind chill. And the humidity, not too bad, sitting at 61%. Most of us are sitting from the upper 20s to lower 30s across much of the region. And we've seen this drop in temperatures already because of how we've kept this breeze light throughout the course of the evening. But even with this breeze staying light throughout the course of the night, I'm only expecting us to drop back into the lower 20s while we've got one wave passing just to the south. And speaking of just to the south, that's where any rain and wintry weather is going to stay, mainly across central and eastern parts of Arkansas. At the surface, area high pressure over the St. Louis area, not over the Mississippi River, south of the metro. It's keeping us quiet tonight. Not a lot to show at the surface map for the next few days for sure, but in the upper levels, we just have one quick wave passing through. This might give us a little cloud cover during the overnight, but the short term, though, is about this upper ridge ready to build back in. And that is really going to help us out with temperatures, numbers that we haven't seen for quite a while, eager to return. So we can see how these numbers will drop back into the lower 20s across much of the region. And again, some of you might see some random clouds at times, but we're going to plan on mostly sunny skies for the rest of your Sunday. After we start at 21, sunshine and a light breeze will take us to 44 by noon. Joplin topping out at 50 for Sunday afternoon. In fact, everybody will be in the lower to middle 50s. So this is looking pretty good as we wrap up the weekend tomorrow. So let's look at the jet stream for the rest of the future track setup for this week. We are going to be back on the warmer side of the jet starting on Monday. This setup, despite some cloud cover around, will put us in the upper 50s for Monday, mid-60s for Tuesday with more sunshine to work with. And how about this setup, getting us into the lower 70s for Wednesday and Thursday? We'll take it. But sticking with Doug's pattern, we're going to watch a few upper waves out west coming in our direction, especially the first wave coming in on Saturday. With the way this is setting up, like Doug said the other day, I would not be surprised if that led to some strong, maybe severe storms by the time Saturday rolls around. We got plenty of time to watch that, but we've been tracking a lot for the past few weeks, Chris, so we're going to enjoy 5 days of nothing. 50 tomorrow, 58 Monday, mid-60s Tuesday, and lower 70s Wednesday and Thursday.
Whether you're a fan of the snow or the rain, 5 days of nothing is going to be nice after the last bit we've had.
We all deserve it, and we'll take it.
Nick, thank you so much. So as promised, there was a Chris technical difficulty, if you will, on the story from Bronte Sorotsky. So recapping, it's a game that's aimed at helping out a local charity for disc golf players. And again, KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky is going to tell us all about the Ice Bowl.
Weather throughout the region may be looking better, but the few days of snow made conditions perfect for one disc golf organization.
We enjoy, as disc golfers, we enjoy the fun weather, but the fun thing is we live in Kansas, so the weather will kind of bounce around.
On Saturday, the group held its annual charity event to kick things off. This year, proceeds will go to the Wesley House.
Our annual charity event called the Ice Bowl, and this is kind of an event that many clubs around the nation run, and it's kind of that start off to get ready for the disc golf season.
They call it the Ice Bowl for a reason, and Saturday's weather really proved it.
So the Ice Bowl has its name because it's predominantly played in the colder weather, and so usually kind of the disc golf off season is from November to February, and so that's when a lot of local clubs will hold theirs. We've always held ours in February. Kind of a fun fact, in all the years we have run Ice Bowl, this is the actual first time that we've actually had snow in that icy weather.
The club's members are made up of people young and old. And for one, it's something he didn't really get that into until the pandemic.
My son and his friends started playing. I thought it was one of the goofiest things I'd ever seen in my life. They convinced me to bring the dog out and go for a walk, and one thing led to another, and now I am just hooked. People got tired of being cooped up inside, and disc golf is one of the few things you can do outside with a mask, without a mask.
It's a sport that's really just about having fun and helping out the community.
The motto for the Ice Bowl is no wimps, no whiners. come out, have fun.
In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KUAM News.
Now, anyone who wanted to play could bring 5 canned goods or pay $10. All proceeds went to the Wesley House in Pittsburgh. Well, coming up, the U.S. Treasury Department revealed how most COVID rental relief money has been distributed. Baby teethers sold at Target are being recalled due to a choking hazard. More than 8,000 wooden baby teethers are made by Baby Alot sold at Target and other locations have been removed from shelves because they pose a choking hazard to young children. Consumer Product Safety Commission says the teethers should be immediately taken away from children as the string connecting the beads can become untied, releasing the beads and cause choking if swallowed. The items came in 12 styles and were sold through babyolot.com and zulily.com. U.S. Treasury Department revealed how most COVID rental relief money has been distributed. Treasury Department said more than 80% of federal rental assistance distributed during the coronavirus pandemic went to low-income tenants. Treasury said the aid was aimed at keeping families in their homes during the pandemic. The largest percentage of aid recipients were Black, followed by female-led households. Lawmakers approved $46.5 billion in emergency rental assistance, and through 2021, over $25 billion has been spent. Switching from cigarettes to e-cigarettes may not improve your health and could cause a major problem in your mouth. A recent study by New York University College of Dentistry revealed e-cigarettes posed a risk of gum disease. The study said chemicals in e-cigarette vapors can change the oral microbial environment of the mouth while disrupting the balance of bacteria, leading to gum disease. Researchers found people who vaped had a different oral microbe environment than cigarette smokers and never smokers. Gum disease affects half of all U.S. adults over 30. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is relaxing its mask recommendations for school children as the number of COVID-19 cases continues to drop. Universal masking is now only recommended for schools in areas with high community-wide coronavirus infection rates. About 28% of Americans currently live in such communities. That data comes from examining the number of new COVID-19 cases in a community, the local hospital capacity, and the number of hospitalizations. CDC says prevention strategies in schools have been proven effective and children face a lower risk of infection. As a general rule, public health officials can now say school masking policies should match indoor mask guidance for the general population. The FDA is a step closer to a complete ban on menthol-flavored cigarettes and cigars. Thursday, the agency submitted its proposal to the Office of Management and Budget. In 2020, the agency enacted a flavor ban on e-cigarettes because they targeted middle and high school students. Now, public health officials argue banning menthol, the last allowable flavor in cigarettes, will save lives. In its proposal, the FDA provides evidence that menthol tobacco products are heavily marketed to racial minorities. CDC reports more than 85% of menthol smokers are Black, taking a disproportionate toll on their health. FDA officials say the proposed menthol ban will still need to be open to public comment before a final review. A study finds transgender or non-binary youth suffer fewer mental health problems during their first year of gender-affirming treatment. It found adolescents and young adults treated with puberty blockers or gender-affirming hormones had 60% lower odds of moderate or severe depression and 73% lower risk of committing suicide. The research involved 104 transgender or non-binary youth, making it one of the larger studies to examine the impact of gender-affirming treatment on youth. The study participants were between the ages of 13 and 20. Earlier studies have shown transgender youth have high rates of anxiety, depression, self-harm, eating disorders, and suicide. The study was published Friday in JAMA Open Network. Up next, France seized a Russian-flagged cargo ship over potential sanctions breaches. France seized a Russian-flagged cargo ship over potential sanctions breaches. French maritime officials said the vessel Baltic Leader was heading to the Russian port city of St. Petersburg on Saturday when it was intercepted in the English Channel. The ship was diverted to a port in northern France for an investigation. French officials said the ship could belong to a Russian company suspected of violating trade sanctions linked to the war in Ukraine. Anti-war protesters in Russia are being detained as rallies continue across the country. Russian police escorted demonstrators onto a bus for a second night in St. Petersburg. Police in riot gear are cracking down on anti-war protesters who remain steadfast despite the threat of treason charges. Dozens of demonstrators have been arrested across Russia amid growing anti-war sentiment. Protesters breaking out near the Russian embassy in Athens on Saturday. Hundreds of demonstrators gathered to protest Russia's invasion into Ukraine as Russia's attack enters its third day. Protesters were chanting songs and slogans while holding signs calling Putin a, quote, killer, among other things. Greece's prime minister promised Ukrainian President Zelensky medical supplies and pledged to keep 2 Greek consulates open in Ukraine. Massive demonstrations continued worldwide as people call for an end to the war in Ukraine. Crowds of protesters took to the streets of Rome Saturday in a show of solidarity with the Ukrainian people. Demonstrators gathered at a square in the Italian capital, waving flags and banners and saying peace to the world and stop war. Rallies defying the Russian invasion also took place in Milan. Ukrainians are desperately trying to flee their homeland today as the Russian invasion continues. Ukraine's neighbors, including Poland, Hungary, and Romania, extended a hand to those looking to flee the conflict by welcoming them as refugees. Volunteers are giving out hot beverages, water, food, and supplies to Ukrainians crossing the border into Romania. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, over 120,000 Ukrainians fled the country since Russia started its attack on Ukraine. We're going to wrap up this half hour of News at 9 with a new way to kick off your day. You can start off your day with a bit of luck with Duncan's latest Shamrock Macchiato. The latest drink to the Dunkin' Donuts menu will make everyone else green with envy. The Shamrock Macchiato features layers of espresso on top of rich Irish cream flavoring with notes of sweet cream and vanilla, making this drink even more festive as its green color, which is perfect for St. Patrick's Day. The Shamrock Macchiato is joined by other new spring menu items, including a salted caramel cream cold brew, roasted tomato and avocado toast, and a chocolate croissant. I am glad that did not say, let me back this reader up, that this was not a roasted tomato and avocado like macchiato, because everything else was drink themed. I was concerned that we were going to get into a very weird territory. Thankfully, we didn't, and we've got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports still to come. Coming up, a major development in the sanctioning of Russia for its war on Ukraine. Welcome back to the News at 9. A major development in the sanctioning of Russia for its war on Ukraine. The U.S. and European Commission agreeing to expel some Russian banks from the SWIFT financial messaging system and announcing restrictions against Russia's central bank, among other measures. Fox News correspondent Jackie Heinrich has more on that story.
With this announcement, the U.S. and allies have now targeted all 10 of Russia's largest financial institutions, comprising about 80% of Russia's total banking sector. It also restricts the Russian central bank from deploying its international reserves in a way that could undermine the impact of the sanctions that it is now facing, ensuring that the ruble's value falls even further, inflation spikes, and the central bank is left defenseless. It's a more limited deployment of the so-called nuclear option, but the statement ends with a warning that the alliance is prepared to take even further measures than what is being announced today. And it's the answer Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky pleaded for once again this morning.
We have this important victory. There is a fair decision to cut Russia off the international payment system. It means billions and billions of losses for Russia. It's a concrete price for its treacherous invasion of Ukraine.
In addition to blocking these banks from SWIFT, the U.S., EU, and other NATO countries are launching a transatlantic task force to hunt down, freeze, and seize physical assets of these sanctioned Russian companies and oligarchs, going after their jets, yachts, cars, and luxury homes. A senior administration official says we've already seen the impacts of this transatlantic partnership yesterday when the French government seized a cargo ship owned by a sanctioned Russian bank. Finally, the allies announced a new effort to limit the sale of citizenship, so-called golden passports that allow Russians to become citizens in other countries and use their financial systems, circumventing the sanctions. Now, the U.S. is closely watching how countries aligned with Russia respond.
It also will give us an indication of how much China is prepared to support Russia in this endeavor. We have heard, of course, that China would be there to bank them. China would be there to prop up their energy sector.
The White House says so far there is no indication that China is coming to Russia's rescue because, quote, China tends to respect the force of U.S. sanctions. At the White House, Jackie Heinrich, Fox News.
People who live in Kyiv, Ukraine, have taken refuge in an underground parking garage as their city comes under attack from Russia. Some of them have even brought their dogs. They've been told to stay away from windows and to take precautions to avoid flying debris and bullets. Other residents are sheltering in basements and subway stations. Russia claims its assault on Ukraine is aimed only at military targets, but bridges, schools, and residential neighborhoods have been hit since the beginning of the invasion on Thursday with air and missile strikes. Saturday marks 10 years since Trayvon Martin was killed. The unarmed 17-year-old was shot while walking home from a Florida convenience store on February 26, 2012. Neighborhood Watch Captain George Zimmerman was charged with second-degree murder in Martin's death. He was found not guilty. Martin's death propelled the Black Lives Matter movement forward, bringing attention to racism and injustice in America. It initially started as a hashtag in the wake of the fatal shooting. To honor Martin's life, his family will host their annual Trayvon Martin Peace Walk and Peace Talk on Saturday in Miami. Organizers plan to have motivational speakers and local band performances to mark the 10-year anniversary of his death. Later on the news at 9, for the first time in history, NATO has activated its response force made up of land, air, sea, and special operations units.
Roper Honda has the
We have thankfully seen the big melt continue with plenty of sunshine today and temperatures this time around finally back above freezing. And these are numbers that will certainly stick with us as we continue on through not just the rest of the weekend tomorrow, but for much of the coming work week as well. Upper 20s, that was the best that many of us, including Joplin Regional, could do the other day. We had to drop back briefly into the upper teens this morning though, but look at how we catapulted back above freezing and back into the lower 40s this afternoon. Thankfully, this quiet spell that we've seen in action since late Thursday, certainly this Friday, it's going to stay in place for pretty much a good portion of next week, not to mention temperatures. They're going to be chilly to start, sure, but as we go through the rest of the coming week, milder air, something that we deserve, it is still on the way in. Looking at a quiet shot for 7th and Range Line at 9:38, we're sitting at 31 with quiet skies up top and a calm breeze. That has allowed temperatures to drop off quite a bit ever since we hit our highs in the lower to even mid 40s for some of you. Right now though, most of us mid to upper 20s to about 30, 31 degrees. It has gotten quite cold, sure, because of the quiet skies up top that we've seen all day long and a relatively calm breeze, but I only expect us to drop back into the lower 20s as we go into tomorrow morning while we thankfully stay quiet here on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Weak wave passing to the south, that's where any rain and, dare I say it, wintry precip is staying. Thankfully, we're not dealing with that. We've got an area of high pressure on the south side of St. Louis, if not over the Mississippi River Valley, and not much else happening to the west, at least on the surface map. Upstairs, there is a weak wave passing by along the flow of the jet stream. This is what's going to try and give us a little bit of cloud cover overnight, but in the shorter term, this upper level ridge, that's what's really going to allow temperatures to warm up, and we do mean warm up as we go into next week. As far as what we go for tonight, though, thankfully not that much colder. I think many of us will only drop back, let's say lower to middle 20s all across the board. Around Joplin for the night and into Sunday morning, You're looking to have lows dropping back to about 21 degrees. A light breeze at 5 miles per hour to start the day, and that breeze stays light while we see mostly sunny skies continue to take control. 44 by noon. I think Joplin not only tops out at 50 degrees, much of the area will go at least into the lower to middle 50s all across the board. So our Sunday, it's not looking too bad as we wrap up the weekend, the final weekend, believe it or not, of the month of February. Let's head into March with the rest of the future track here. Actually, I think this is the last day of February here, but we'll take highs in the upper 50s to wrap up the month of February. Mid 60s for the first Tuesday and the first day of March. And then the building ridge and the jet stream to the north puts us into the lower 70s for Wednesday and Thursday, while we stay quiet. But I want to watch for maybe a few showers ahead of an approaching storm system by the weekend. And this is certainly sticking with Doug's pattern. And based on how this is setting up, let's keep an eye on the next Saturday's storm chances because that could potentially bring strong, maybe severe storms if things continue to look the wrong way, relatively speaking. But we are going to enjoy nothing but quiet for the next several days, Chris. We'll have highs around 50 tomorrow with mostly sunny skies. A little cloud cover with one quick wave coming our way Monday, but still we'll go into the upper 50s for highs. 65 Tuesday and lower 70s Wednesday and Thursday.
We'll certainly take this break. We definitely need it, and these warm temperatures are very welcomed by many in the 4 states.
Yeah, certainly by Wednesday, no later than that. All the ice we picked up, a distant memory by then.
That's a good thing. Nick, thank you so much. Coming up in sports, the Missouri Southern women need a win today to earn their first conference title. Plus, Lamar meets Aurora in the first round of the district championship. Danny Terzer has the highlights and more next.